in this video we will discuss about clause as well as its two major types that will help you in paragraph writing as well as in a speaking whenever you are going to speak or write simple sentence, compound sentence, complex sentence as well as compound complex sentence. Even though whenever you know the two major types of clauses such as dependent clause and independent clause, it will help you in conditionals as well. Alright, so to begin with types of clauses, first of all we will discuss dependent clause. Dependent clause is known as embedded clause in IELTS. Alright, dependent clause is known as definite clause in American English. One thing you have to keep in mind, dependent clause is known as definite clause in American English. Which American? North American English. Alright, dependent clause is always followed by subordinate conjunctions. So that's why dependent clause is also known as subordinating clause or subordinate clause. One thing you have to keep in mind, for instance, if dependent clause begins with if, and that dependent clause is known as if clause as well. When rarely people use dependent clause as a when clause as well, even if though unless are types of subordinating conjunction. Now here one thing you have to keep in mind about dependent clause, it neither can stand alone. It simply means dependent clause cannot stand alone, and that's why it cannot be a sentence by itself. Now there is another fact that you have to keep in mind, nor it expresses complete meaning. It simply means it cannot express complete meaning. Even though it has, dependent clause has subject as well as predicate, but it gives a, you can say it gives not a particular, not a specific sense of meaning like independent clause. For instance, if we say if I find my wallet, now here you will get the thing, here is a subject and this one is predicate, but here dependent clause is known as if clause because it begins with if. Now even though it doesn't give any particular meaning, let's read it. If I find my wallet, if I find my wallet, then what happened? Alright, so here it is giving a meaning, but it is not a particular meaning. Alright, it cannot, this clause cannot stand alone. Alright, and another thing, it has no any particular meaning, so that's why it is called dependent clause. Now to fulfill the dependent clause or to complete the dependent clause, it always needs an independent clause. Alright, let's discuss, go ahead. When my friend arrives, when my friend arrives, then what happened? Alright, even though here we may notice subject as well as you can say verb, but here it has no any particular meaning. Even though it is raining outside, it simply means even though it is raining outside, then what you gonna do? Alright, so these three clauses are dependent clause, and now we cannot call them a sentence. Alright, these are dependent clause. Now these clauses need what? Only one thing, that is independent clause, to be completed or to give particular sense of meaning. Alright, let's discuss about independent clause as well. Independent clause is known as main clause in Wren and Martin, principal clause in Oxford English Grammar. Alright, one thing you have to notice in IELTS, and this line is from IELTS. Alright, I have IELTS notes. So indefinite clause in American English. Alright, so Independent clause is known as indefinite clause in American English. Go ahead. Independent clause is always followed by coordinate conjunction, or simply you may say connectors. So that's why independent clause is also known as coordinate clause as well. Alright, let's discuss. For instance, and, but, or, no, etc. Alright, go ahead. Independent clause, it not only can stand alone, it simply means apart from standing alone, it expresses complete sense of meaning. Alright, it simply means if clause stand alone, it simply means it can be a sentence. Alright, because sentence gives complete sense of meaning as well. So here, whenever we read independent clause, it sounds like a simple sentence. How? I will give you treat. Now here, this one, I is a subject and will give you is a predicate. Alright, now here, whenever we read this clause, and even though you can call it a sentence, because this clause is independent clause, and independent clause can be a sentence by itself, and dependent clause cannot be a sentence by itself. Alright, while dependent clause needs independent clause to be completed, but independent clause hasn't any need to be completed while using dependent clause. Alright, for instance, he would make a phone call to me. Alright, he is a subject and this one is predicate. Now he or you can say Razak would make a phone call to me. It simply means we have no any query. Alright, who is gonna call? He. Alright, I will attend the party. It simply means it has a subject and this part is known as predicate. Now it is giving complete senses of meaning, so that's why we can call it a sentence as well as independent clause. Now here, how dependent clause needs an independent clause to be completed. If I found my wallet, this part is from dependent clause and this part from independent clause. Alright, if I found my wallet, then what happened? Then I will give you treat, and this part is known as what is called independent clause. And here this one is connector as well as coordinate conjunction. Coordinate conjunction doesn't mean it used before independent clause or it used after dependent clause, but connector simply means, coordinate simply means it used to join two types of clauses. Alright, connector doesn't only join two independent clauses, but connector can join one dependent to another independent clause.